Wow.
We all know that Blue Ivy came from a surrogate.
Yep.
They shut that hospital down like a president had just been shot.
But there are actually a lot of people that believe this rumor, and it's crazy. I guess there are some crazy celebrities in the world, so we get a bad rep.
Jaguar Wright is back in the spotlight, and every time she opens her mouth, the entire industry seems to hold its breath. This is not new. People already know the pattern. The moment she starts talking, tension rises, faces tighten, and suddenly nobody in Hollywood looks comfortable anymore. But this time feels different. She is not going after Diddy or Clive Davis. She is aiming straight at the top, directly at Beyoncé and Jay-Z, and what she is saying is enough to shake people. She is questioning the story behind Blue Ivy Carter's birth, claiming the version the world accepted might not be the full truth. Now the whispers are back, louder than before, spreading across the internet like wildfire. And the question sitting heavy in everyone's mind is simple but unsettling. What if this time, she is right again?
When we all watched her get on TV with that fake pregnancy belly that folded over,
Yep.
she sat down. The timeline of when she delivered Blue Ivy lines up almost perfect with the timeline of when Kathy White would have delivered. Couldn't get pregnant. Not naturally, not normally.
Because if you really think about it, this is not the first time she has spoken like this. The last time, people dismissed her instantly. They laughed, mocked her, called her unstable, and refused to take anything she said seriously. It was easy to ignore her back then, but then something changed. Years later, lawsuits started surfacing, documentaries began exposing details, and suddenly, the same names she once mentioned were everywhere in headlines. Especially when it came to Diddy, the conversation shifted overnight. The jokes stopped. The silence got louder, and now, with her speaking on Beyoncé, people are reacting very differently. This time, the internet is not laughing, it is watching, it is listening, and more importantly, it is questioning everything. The energy has changed to something far more serious, more like, what if there is truth hidden in all of this? But before things spiral too far, it is important to go back to the moment that started all of this in the first place. The moment that made people stop, rewind, and question what they were seeing. Back in Arling, Beyoncé was at the peak of everything. She was glowing, untouchable, and alongside Jay-Z they were dominating the industry like no one else. Then came that unforgettable VMA night. The performance that felt like a fairy tale. She stood on stage full of confidence, then revealed her pregnancy in front of the world. The crowd exploded. Cameras flashed non-stop, and in the audience, Jay-Z looked like the proudest man alive. In that moment, Blue Ivy Carter was already being treated like royalty before even entering the world, but everything changed not long after. During an appearance on an Australian talk show, something small turned into something massive. She sat there smiling, glowing like before, but when she leaned forward, something did not look right to viewers watching closely. Her stomach appeared to fold in a way that people did not expect. And that was all it took. The clip spread everywhere within hours. People slowed it down, zoomed in, replayed it again and again, treating it like evidence. And for many, it did not look natural. It looked like something collapsing. And from that moment on, the questions never really stopped.
Seems like people should have boundaries. There's certain things that you just shouldn't play around with. And a child, you don't play around with that. And especially after losing a child, the pain and trauma from that just makes it mean so much more to get an opportunity to bring life into the world.
At first, some people tried to shut it down quickly, saying it was nothing more than fabric shifting the wrong way. Just an awkward camera moment blown out of proportion, but not everyone was convinced. Others believed that what they saw pointed to something much bigger, hiding beneath the surface. That single clip ignited a storm online, and within days, it turned into years of theories, debates, and endless analysis. The so-called bump controversy took on a life of its own, pulling in talk shows, gossip blogs, and YouTubers, all dissecting the same few seconds like it held some hidden truth. Everyone had an opinion, and nobody wanted to back down. Beyoncé eventually addressed it directly, brushing it off as completely ridiculous. She even spoke about it in her documentary Life is But a Dream, where she opened up on a much deeper level. She revealed that before Blue Ivy Carter, she had gone through a miscarriage, something that left a lasting emotional scar. She described her pregnancy as a miracle, a second chance that meant everything to her. For her, it was not just a public moment. It was something deeply personal, something rooted in pain, healing, and hope.
Really getting into your story when the intersection of the story of Kathy White
Mm-hmm.
came back into my life.
His alleged mistress, who was Kathy White. Long story short, I got a hold of her, and she was considering doing an interview with me, talking about her alleged affair with.
Even major publications stepped in, trying to calm the situation by quoting sources close to Beyoncé and Jay-Z, insisting there was nothing unusual happening behind the scenes. But no matter how much reassurance came out, the internet refused to move on. One question kept coming back again and again. If everything was normal, why did the entire situation feel so controlled? When Blue Ivy Carter was born, reports described an environment that felt far from ordinary. There was talk of intense security, restricted access, and strict privacy measures inside Lenox Hill Hospital. Some claimed entire sections were locked down, with guards stationed and movement tightly controlled. To many, it did not feel like a routine hospital visit. It felt like something far more guarded. There were even reports suggesting the level of privacy came at a massive cost, with figures being thrown around that only fueled more speculation online. Families who were present at the hospital during that time shared stories about limited access, which only made things look even more unusual from the outside. The hospital later responded, pushing back against some of those claims. But by that point, the narrative had already spread too far. The questions only grew louder. Why so much security? Why so much secrecy? And just when the noise started to fade, Jaguar Wright stepped back in and took things to another level. She claimed the heavy security was not just about privacy at all. According to her, something else was being hidden. Something much bigger. She went as far as saying that Beyoncé did not give birth that night. And the moment she said one name, everything exploded again.
Carter is just as bad as the diddler. And I know that for a fact. I got the scars to prove it.
That name was Kathy White, and it was not just a random mention. She was known in certain circles as someone who operated behind the scenes, working as a PR consultant and fitness coach connected to high-profile figures. She was not in the spotlight, but she was close enough to it. Close enough to move within elite industry spaces where powerful names crossed paths regularly. According to what people were already saying online, she had connections that linked her to figures like Jay-Z and even Diddy. That alone was enough to make her name stand out. So when Jaguar Wright brought her into the conversation, it did not just raise eyebrows. It reignited everything. The rumors came back stronger, louder, and far more intense than before.
Days later, this beautiful, seemingly healthy 28-year-old woman just dies mysteriously. We were told it was a brain aneurysm. There was a lot of secrecy.
As the name Kathy White started gaining attention, old photos began resurfacing online. Images from exclusive Vegas parties, private gatherings, and high-profile events showed her standing comfortably beside powerful figures, smiling, relaxed, like she truly belonged in that world. She was not an outsider looking in. She was already inside. And that is exactly what made people pause once her name entered the conversation. According to Jaguar Wright, Kathy was not just someone who knew Beyoncé and Jay-Z. She claimed Kathy had a much deeper role in a story the public never got to see. Jaguar pushed the narrative further, suggesting that Kathy was the one carrying the child, pointing at timelines she believed lined up too closely to ignore. Around the same period, Beyoncé was publicly showing her pregnancy, and according to Jaguar, that overlap raised serious questions in her mind. Then came the detail that made everything feel even heavier. Not long after the reported birth of Blue Ivy Carter, Kathy White suddenly passed away. She was just 28 years old, described by many as healthy, active, and full of life. Her death was reported as a brain aneurysm, but the timing alone was enough to send the internet into overdrive. People started connecting dots, building theories, and asking questions that had no clear answers. And just like that, the conversation went from curiosity to something far more intense.
When Beyoncé got on that stage with that fake baby bump,
Oh, yeah.
it was lined up with the same timing of where Kathy White would have been in her second trimester.
Then the situation took an even darker tone. Reports surfaced that journalist Liz Krogan had an interview scheduled with Kathy White just days before her passing. According to her, Kathy was preparing to speak publicly about something serious. What that something was never became clear, and that mystery only made everything feel more unsettling. Was it just a coincidence? Maybe. But if you listen to Jaguar Wright, she does not believe in coincidences at all. She has made that clear more than once. Jaguar went even further, claiming that Kathy was pregnant with JC's child, suggesting that the baby could have been Blue Ivy Carter. It is a claim that sounds extreme, almost impossible to accept at first, and for many people, that was exactly their reaction. But then came the hesitation, the pause, because this is not the first time Jaguar has made claims that sounded unbelievable in the moment. Years ago, when she spoke about Diddy, people dismissed her instantly. Later, as lawsuits and public conversations started surfacing, opinions began to shift. Now, some people are looking back at that pattern and questioning whether they judged too quickly before Jaguar presents everything like pieces of a larger puzzle, pointing toward a pattern involving powerful figures, silence, and unanswered questions. She has even spoken on other situations in the past, including claims surrounding Kim Porter, suggesting there were details that never fully came to light. And now, she is bringing that same energy toward Jay-Z, making it clear she believes there is more beneath the surface than people are being told.
From this point forward, any word that I say, I ain't holding back. And I ain't saying alleged either. Y'all said I was lying the first time. Now it turns out I'm telling the truth. You still don't want to admit that I was right, but you don't want to admit that you was wrong. So really, then the diplomacy doesn't matter. You.
And that is where everything comes together. Beyoncé represents perfection, control, and precision at the highest level. Every move feels planned, every appearance carefully crafted, every moment polished to the smallest detail. That is part of her power. That is what makes her untouchable. But at the same time, that level of perfection makes some people question what they are not seeing behind the scenes. On the other side, you have Jaguar Wright, who brings the complete opposite energy. She is unfiltered, direct, and unpredictable. She does not package her words or soften her delivery. And that contrast is exactly what keeps people watching. Next to Beyoncé's controlled image, Jaguar feels raw and real to some, and that alone gives her voice weight online, even without solid proof. Maybe that is why this story refuses to fade. It is not just about theories or rumors anymore. It is about two completely different worlds colliding. One built on control and image, the other on chaos and unfiltered truth. And somewhere in between, people are left trying to figure out what to believe. So what is the truth? Did Beyoncé really carry Blue Ivy Carter, just as she has always said? Or is there something more that has never fully come to light? Was Kathy White's passing a tragic coincidence? Or something that raised deeper questions? Right now, there is no confirmed proof. Only claims, theories, and speculation that continue to circulate. But one thing is undeniable. Every time Jaguar Wright speaks, people stop and listen. Whether she is exposing something real or simply fueling controversy, she always leaves people questioning what they thought they knew. Maybe the story is exactly as it was told, or maybe it is not. Either way, the conversation is not going anywhere anytime soon. Now tell me what you think. Drop your opinion below. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this.